Hey folks, Ryan Wood here alongside my colleague, our columnist Pete Dougherty, here at Lambeau Field. And Pete, they won today, 22-0. It was first shutout since 2010.
You wouldn't have known it if you had attended Aaron Rodgers' press conference. He was not. You would have thought they lost the game. I mean, not kidding. You would have thought they lost the playoff game, maybe even. His mood was very down, and he was not happy, basically, with the game plan.
22-0. So what's the quote? He said championship level defense and
non-playoff offense.
Non-playoff. That's strong.
And when he was asked straight up, what the issue was it play selection, or was it because he was talking about getting Devontae Adams the ball more and Graham more, and because he thought they had good matchups all day. And when he was asked how they go about correcting that, was it decision making on where to go with the ball going through reads, or was it play selection? And he said it's the plan. And when he said plan, he meant game plan, which points directly to that he just didn't like Mike McCarthy's game plan.
Nick says too many field goals, and Nick, you are correct. 2 weeks ago, their last game here at Lambeau Field, they were 1 for 5 in the red zone. Aaron Rodgers said after that game, not good enough. They were 2 for 3 in the red zone this time, but clearly outside the red zone they settled. They had drive stall. I think that's an issue going forward, that they've got to be better there.
Oh, Buffalo was bad. I mean,
very bad.
They had zero chance with Josh Allen at quarterback. Zero chance. He couldn't do anything. That interception he threw in the end zone was one of the worst passes. When he was scrambling and going towards out of bounds, I stopped watching, just assuming he was going to throw it away, and I kind of glanced back up and see the ball floating in the end zone. That's something that high school quarterbacks don't do.
Bad, I think. To say Buffalo is bad is almost an insult to bad. I'm pretty convinced at this point that if Josh Allen was standing on the shoreline of Green Bay and tried to hit the water, he'd miss. He could not throw the football. And if you have a quarterback that can't throw, hey, we saw that with Brownlee at times last year. I mean, you don't have a chance.
This guy's got a strong arm. I don't know if he's going to be any good or not. We saw one game they won last week. I don't who knows how they won that, but I haven't seen him enough to have a strong opinion about him other than this was a really bad sign today.
It was a nice win. It's nice to be able to not play well and win 22-0. It's nice to have a shutout, your first in almost a decade, and barely break a sweat.
So big game at Detroit this week. San Francisco without Garoppolo the next week. They really need 2 wins out of these. But
how good is Detroit?
Detroit's going to be. They got Matthew Stafford, so they're always. If he has a good game, they can play with anybody if he plays well.
They've gotten spanked at home to the Jets, and then they beat the Patriots at home. So that's confusing.
They had a big edge on the Patriots. The head coach had been there for how many years? He knew that personnel inside and out, so they took advantage of that. Good for them. And how did they do today?
I think they lost to the Cowboys.
They did. They lost to Dallas.
Tell us if we're wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
That is correct. I saw the story. Yeah, they lost late.
Here's how I feel. The next 2 games, and I think at this point, it sure seems like September is an extension of the preseason. It seems like that. Aaron Rodgers, he could be upset with the plan. The execution wasn't great either today. So the next 2 games, I don't think the schedule gets markedly tougher, but they've got to figure it out coming out of the bye, or it's going to get ugly. Yeah. Because it gets really, really tough after this bye coming up later in October.
Breland, whoever asked, was not active. He was inactive today, and so Rodgers didn't look super sharp. No, he didn't. It's probably the not practicing is probably affecting him. I thought he looked quite a bit healthier. Was able to run better. He said he felt no better than the last 2 weeks, but at least, just watching him, he can run now, whereas he was just dragging that leg along the previous 2 weeks.
Josh says give Aaron Jones the ball 30 times. I wrote about Aaron Jones today. Check it out at PackersNews.com. What do you make of that?
I completely get the impulse. I don't think he can. I don't think the guy will hold up. I don't think he's a 20-carry-a-game guy. He showed last year he's probably not. I think his college career even suggested with some injury issues there. But he tore the MCL in each leg last year, and then he missed 3 weeks of camp with the hamstring. So they're walking a fine line there because he's by far their best guy. I get it. He's by far their best guy with the ball in his hands.
I'm not sure that last year the MCLs were attrition or fluke plays. That I looked at it, and it's not like, because he the first one came in Chicago, correct? the week before, in Monday night against Detroit, he had fewer than 10 carries, like 5 or 6 carries. He had a lot the previous weeks before Detroit, but it wasn't like he had 20 carries, MCL.
I wouldn't necessarily say, that's it's just that if you have 20 carries instead of 12, you're taking 24 more hits. You're getting tackled 24 more times, and if you're more susceptible to injury, that just increases the odds. Yeah, I mean, I just they probably have to be careful with this guy if they want him for 16 games in the playoffs.
So I don't know what you think of this, Pete, but to me, it reminds me of how Mike McCarthy used to use Eddie Lacy. The plan with Eddie Lacy, when Eddie Lacy was a big part of this offense, was for the first 4 weeks of a season to not detract from the last 4 weeks. He wanted his best players and his best runner to be at his best late in the year. And I think there's a lot of merit to that because the Packers genuinely do go 3 deep with players that are quality, solid players. Jamal Williams is a hammer. That run he made on 3rd and 1, stuffed a yard behind the line of scrimmage, getting 2 yards and knocking over 4 Bills defenders. That's an impressive run. Ty Montgomery, 43-yard reception today, the longest of his career, set up the first touchdown. He's a matchup problem in the pass game. They're good players, even if there's a big gap between them and Aaron Jones. It's Aaron Jones could be great. I mean, he's got that type of ability if he can stay healthy. So I really think it's about keeping him fresh for the stretch run, and they're set up to be able to do that. If they're able to do that, if it's December and he's 125 yards this week, 100 yards that week, that's going to be huge for this offense in the stretch run.
Mark, you make a good point about they had 2 third downs where they just handed the ball off, 3rd and 15, and they just handed the ball off and basically, were giving up on it. I wonder if because that's with Rodgers at quarterback, you always have a chance on 3rd and 15. I wonder if that's among the things that was bothering Rodgers, that they didn't, for instance, try to get the ball to Adams or Graham on a play like that.
Diamond wants to know, why did Mike McCarthy run the ball on 3rd and long? Is that because of Rodgers' knee? I wonder if maybe that was part of what.
That's what I was thinking, was they didn't want to expose him to a what's going to be a sure rush.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a real possibility.
Jerome Allison has a concussion. There's no way to know right now what that means. Nick Perry had a concussion last week, played today, got a half sack with Clay Matthews, who, by the way, wasn't flagged, so that's something.
Alexander was the other injury, a groin injury. He never returned, but he did sprint down to the field at full speed to congratulate Josh Jackson.
He did, yes. He did do that.
It makes you think he's not hurt that badly. Yeah. He was able to.
He did do that.
To run out like that. Did Jones at all talk about, about carrying the ball more? And
he said all the right things. He said he called Jamal Williams the starter. He said he's ready whenever he's called upon. He does seem to genuinely get the benefit of keeping the attrition off him. He said that not only does it keep him fresh late in the season, but he thinks it can extend careers, which he's right. But here's the thing. It's a sacrifice on his part because running backs get paid on yards and touchdowns, and right now the only thing limiting Aaron Jones' yards and touchdowns is that he doesn't get the ball much. So it's a real sacrifice on his part. Better for the team, I'm sure, because you'd be better late in the year, and that's when you need him to be at his best, but he's sacrificing.
Someone asked about Rodgers not being happy what the play calling sounded like. We talked about that right from the start of this, so if you want to see it, go back to it. But yes, he very clearly was sending a message in his post-game press conference that he was not at all happy with the game plan going into this game.
I saw someone ask specifically if things are brewing. I think it's a fair question.
It's clearly, there's obviously, this has been simmering, something's going on. There's always been some tension. It shows up every once in a while. This can't continue for the rest of the season. This is the kind of thing that, you either solve it or it blows up.
I go back to Aaron Rodgers is extremely calculated in everything he does, especially talking in public. That wasn't an accident what he said.
Oh, no. He was sending a message.
He was. He was talking. Sure. Just like a couple years ago when Mike McCarthy's "I'm a very successful NFL coach" was probably a message to one individual in particular, straight to Aaron Rodgers. What Aaron Rodgers said today was directly to Mike McCarthy.
I wonder what Brian Gutekunst and Mark Murphy are thinking right now. Obviously, they're very well aware of Rodgers' press conference by now, and it's got to be on their minds. These relationships always go badly. When Vince Lombardi left, it was bad. When Curly Lambeau left, it was bad. Tom Brady and Belichick, for a couple of years now, there's reports out of
Yeah.
there. There's no way that this is just made up stuff and, as Robert Kraft says, jealousy of other teams. Something's going on there. Even Tom Brady's dad's basically said, whenever it ends, it's going to end badly. And, it sounds like Brady is blanching at, not feeling appreciated by Belichick, and that probably will end badly too.
Why do you think this particular relationship might be trending that way, Pete? What do you think the source of that is?
Part of it is probably just working together for a decade, and the quarterback's a perfectionist, and maybe I don't know if he wants to. He knows quarterbacks don't call their own plays, in this league. So I don't know who's more in the right, if Rodgers is stepping out of bounds here, or if McCarthy's really not listening to him when they're game planning. They're both strong-willed guys, so I guess you have to sit in those meetings to know that.
All right, changing gears here.
King and Breland?
Muhammad want to know, how good is the secondary want to be when King and Breland? Look, I take today as more the Bills are really, really bad than the Packers' defense is really, really good. Take nothing away from a shutout. A shutout is a shutout is a shutout. In this league, keeping any team to 0 points in a game. I think it was the Bills' first shutout since, 2008? It's a big deal. But this offense on the Bills is extremely bad. It's very, very bad. And with that said, how good the Packers defense is going forward, there's no question they're going to be better when Kevin King returns and Bashaud Breeland. I think we'll have to see.
They need all that coverage. They need the best coverage in the league because they don't rush the passer well. And the safety play was better. Clinton Dix.
Yeah, it was. That was a heck of a play. Clinton Dix made.
But you're right. They weren't playing a quarterback, and a good quarterback can make guys look bad, and they're going to have to beat good quarterbacks to go anywhere this year.
And before you get too hung up on 7 sacks, just know that the Chargers sacked Josh Allen 5 times. Last week, the Vikings only had 3 sacks, but that was without Everson Griffin, who makes a huge difference with that pass rush. Josh Allen played half the game. They had 15 passes in the opener against the Ravens. He was sacked 3 times. Everybody's sacking Josh Allen. It's not just the Packers.
That's what happens to bad quarterbacks. They get sacked a lot. Really interesting point by Levi Anderson, and something I was thinking about. You're Aaron Rodgers. You watch on Thursday, and you watch Los Angeles, the Rams, just put up all those points, and they're doing. I'm sure they're a little more. They're innovative. That young coach, and I wonder if Rodgers looks at that and thinks, gosh, I want someone like that to be calling the plays or running our offense.
Yeah, sure. How could he not? Almost.
Mercedes Lewis, it seemed like he played a little more today. I thought, he was out there for a few snaps.
I can't say I noticed. Yeah,
he does. They did some 2 tight end, and there were several snaps with 3 tight ends, and they put him out there mostly when they're going to run. But he's limited as a receiver. He's 34, 35 years old, and he's a huge guy who's just not fast anymore.
Nancy with the question of the day: how did Buffalo beat the Vikings so handily?
So I looked it up.
Okay. Uh-oh. We're here.
Yeah.
So we're here. It's okay.
First possession, Buffalo went downfield, scored a touchdown, but Minnesota had 2 15-yard penalties for a face mask and a late hit, I think. So that was 30 yards, both on 3rd downs, if I remember right. So that was 2 first downs. And then the next 2 Vikings possessions were both strip sacks, one inside the 10 and one inside the 20. So it was 17-0, and Buffalo had basically 1 possession and then 4 plays besides that.
So would you say hangover?
Must have been a factor.
Really sloppy.
The Packers played really poorly last week too.
Flag roughing the camera. Oh, I love it. That's fantastic. That's a good one. Plus, I did everything right. I tried to put my body weight to the side. I really didn't deserve the flag, but the flag came anyway.
So do you know who you'll pick next week with the Packers and Lions?
I'll probably pick the Packers. Probably. I'm not sure Detroit's any good. I think the Packers win these next 3 games, and then if they play like this, November's going to be a bloody month for them. They've got to play a lot better to handle things out of the bye week, but I don't think the next 2 games are that tough. But with that said, they could lose in Detroit. Of the 2, Detroit or Jimmy Garoppolo's 49ers, they're winning in 2 weeks. I don't know. I don't know about at Detroit, but I'd probably pick them.
The Earl Thomas question got answered today. Did you see that?
No.
He broke his leg. Same leg, same
No
spot.
kidding.
Yep, he's So he's done for the year.
Pete, you kind of jinxed that, Pete.
Well, I mean, it was so the Packers were smart to withhold. And now I didn't see what Jim Ozarski, one of our colleagues, said that what he read was as he was being carted off the field, he flipped the bird to the Seahawks bench.
No kidding.
So obviously he had Pete Carroll.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, you talking about bad relationships.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers didn't do that today, so that's a plus. Woo.
But anyway, that must have been, if he broke it in the same spot, that must have been an injury waiting to happen.
Diamond wants to know if you think the Bears are going to be a problem. Khalil Mack MVP.
He's off to an unbelievable start. I'm still skeptical. We're only a month in. They could still be, 8 weeks from now, they might be, they could have 4 more or 5 more losses. You just don't know how it's going to go. But Trubisky threw 5 touchdown passes today, I guess.
The Bears beat the Seahawks at home. That's, they're not 2000, clearly, they're not 2013-14 Seahawks, but they do have Russell Wilson. After that, they beat the Cardinals, right? And then is it possible that the Bucs are just who we thought they were?
Oh, yeah. That could be a bad team, for sure.
The magic of wearing off on Fitz magic?
And I'm not convinced Seattle's that good, but they do have Wilson's Wilson's a top half quarterback for sure, but the defense it's not it's a shell of what it was.
So they're 3-1, and clearly they're handling their success in small portions. But
why so negative on the defense? Why are we being so negative?
Because Josh Allen is awful, and he might one day be good. That is possible. He's not always going to be awful, but it's very clear he's not ready to play. It's not just the Packers defense that is giving him long days, and on top of that, I don't know who they are yet. I don't think we're going to really have our answer until probably early November. If maybe we'll find out a little bit next week. If they go on the road to Detroit and they give Matthew Stafford a really tough day in his own building, that would be something. That'd be a lot more than what they did today. Bottom line is, they're a team that can give up 28 points in a half, or they're a team that can give up 3 points combined in the last 3 halves. They're all over the board, so I don't know where they're at right now.
Kentrell Bryce played with Clinton Dix. There were no changes at safety today.
Nope. The change was that they both played a lot better.
Jimmy Graham had a couple of those, or maybe it's the same person. Doesn't think Graham is making as much of an impact. Rodgers must think so too, because he mentioned Graham and Adams by name today as guys who he thought should have been targeted more. And I think when he says that, he means they should be calling plays where those guys are the number one options more.
He did kind of create the interception today.
Robert Tonyan next week,
Lance Kid just had a big 3rd-and-1 catch.
I thought since
you needed that one.
I thought since late in camp, Tonyan was. If I had to decide, if I had to keep only one of the 2 on the roster, I'm keeping Tonyan and cutting Kendricks.
It's
I could see him getting some snaps. He can run. He runs okay, and he catches the ball really well.
It's not going to change, Pete. I don't think
it's a long season.
Not right now, at least. Who steps in for Allison? We'll have to see how long his concussion is. It's no way to really know.
Probably, Valdez Scantling, and then I guess Jamon Moore is the next guy up.
Yeah, the 2 rookie. Marquez Valdez Scantling had an interesting day. Aaron Rodgers, clear. He stared him down walking off the field. Almost led to a pick 6 because he didn't come back to the football. But then he showed everyone why he's an exciting prospect with that 38-yard catch down the right sideline. I went up to him in the locker room. He was still in his uniform. I said, "What'd you do there?" He said, "Just ran by a defender. Really nothing all that impressive. He smoked Ryan Lewis. Just completely ran past him, and that's what the Packers like. He's raw. He's extremely raw, but boy, he's got a lot of speed. They think he can develop into a deep threat.
As far as Breeland, I don't think he's injured. He's just new to the team, new to the defense. I find it hard to believe that they'd play him over Williams. Williams has played really well so far, and Breeland was on the street because of that foot issue. So I don't know. I don't even know if Breeland's the better player straight up, even though Carolina was going to pay him $8 million a year.
Zachariah's a tough crowd. Do you think they'll cut Ty next season? He had his longest catch of his career today. That's tough.
So he's in his.
You're a tough grader.
This is the last year of his contract, right?
Yes. No, he's got one more, right?
Isn't he a 4th-year guy?
I thought he was a 3rd-year guy. Is he a 4th-year guy?
Your first season was 2014. Was he?
No. He was a 15, 16, 17. He might be a fourth-year guy.
I think he is.
You're
So,
right.
yeah, his contract is up.
Wow, time flies.
It does. It goes really fast.
That's really... Whew.
The days are long and the years are short.
That's a good way to put it. Isn't Philbin offensive coordinator? Yes, he is, Mark, but Mike McCarthy's the play caller.
Yeah.
It's Mike McCarthy's offense.
It's his offense. So we'll take, a couple more and then wrap it up?
Yeah. I appreciate everyone following along.
Thanks for coming and expressing your
It's
feelings.
almost therapeutic for us. The setup is we just filed our stories. We're still, we're kind of mulling over things, and it's just nice to be able to share this with you.
That J.K. Scott pick just keeps looking good every week, doesn't it?
Sure does.
He's
a player.
Yep.
He bombed the heck out of one of those punts where he 51 yards on the fly to the end zone, 31-yard net.
Overall grade for the Packers this year. This would be a good one to end on.
They're 2-1-1, so C+.
That's exactly what I was going to say, C+.
The first quarter is C+. Look, here's the best thing the Packers have going for them right now. The Vikings might stink. I don't think there's a huge difference when Everson Griffin's not on the field. I know Harrison Smith's their best player.
That whole thing could be messing that team up.
Yeah, that they might stink. They might not be good. And if they're not good, it's way too premature to say the Bears are any good. This NFC North is very winnable. And that's the best thing the Packers have going for them right now because they've got to play a heck of a lot better, too, you would say starting in Detroit, but really starting coming out of the bye when they go to at Los Angeles, at New England. They've got a 3-1 Miami team. I don't know if they're any good or not, but this could be a trap game coming home. They've got Seattle on a short week. That's never fun to fly across country. And they've got at Minnesota. Those five, they've got to play a heck of a lot better there than they are now. But this is a very winnable division, Pete.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's weighing in with their grades. We got a couple who agree in C+, several saying B-. So we're in the right range as far as.
If you're feeling a little happy today with the win, 22-0, you can bump them up to a B-.
I think the quality opponent it keeps me from bumping that up to a B-.
Me too. All right, hey folks, thank you very much for joining in. We very much appreciate it. He's Pete. I'm Ryan. Until next time, take care and make sure you're following all our stories, all our coverage on PackersNews.com.
Bye.